Some faces tell a story before a single word is spoken. A neck stretched high as a tower. Skin patterned like the forest floor. Eyes ringed with pigments that seem to catch the sun itself. In the grasslands, in the highlands, deep in jungles and deserts, there are tribes whose bodies are living archives, shaped, painted, and adorned to speak of belonging, of beauty, of power. Every mark and measurement has meaning, though none of it is written down. But meaning is fragile. Outsiders arrive with cameras, with questions, with their own ideas of what should be preserved and what should be left behind. In this tension between pride and pressure lies the heart of their story. Padaung. High in the mist-veiled hills of Myanmar and along the forested fringes of northern Thailand, there lives a people whose silhouette has become one of the most enigmatic symbols of tradition. The Padaung, also known as the Kayan, are a subgroup of the Karenni, an ethnic minority with origins rooted deep in the borderlands between empires. They speak a language that echoes with ancient rhythms and live in stilted homes beneath teak trees and whispering clouds. But it is not their voice that has carried their legend around the world. It is their necks, adorned with coiled brass that rise like columns of ritual and identity. The tradition begins young. At just a few years old, girls are gifted the first rings, not placed around the neck itself, but pressing down on the collarbone, compressing the rib cage, reshaping the body's frame. With each passing year, the coils grow longer, heavier, more intricate. In time, they become inseparable from the woman herself, a living sculpture of heritage. Outsiders have whispered myths that the rings are punishment, that they are protection, that they are a mark of submission. But none of these stories were ever told by the Padaung. To them, the rings are beauty. They are culture made visible, a shared memory passed from mother to daughter. Once, in the remote villages where these customs bloomed, the women moved like spirits among the trees, golden rings shining in the morning light. But borders shift, wars displace, governments label them as curiosities, and tourists arrive with cameras instead of respect. What was once sacred began to be mistaken for spectacle. In exile, many Kayan settled in refugee camps or tourist zones, where tradition had to survive in the face of misunderstanding. Yet the rings endure. In quiet corners of the hills, far from the gaze of the world, elders still tell stories of the first women who wore the brass, not as decoration, but as a symbol of strength. In their lore, the coils are drawn from the curves of dragons, protectors of their people. To wear them is not to be bound, but to carry pride. Across generations, each ring becomes a silent verse in a song of resistance, not against a foe, but against forgetting. The Padaung do not speak of beauty the way the world does. For them, beauty is weight, history, identity, coiled in gold. Mentawai. Off the western coast of Sumatra, past waters dense with mist and memory, lies Siberut Island, thick with tangled rainforest and the cry of hornbills. Here, in the deep green world, where rivers carve through silence and clouds cling low to the canopy, live the Mentawai. One of the oldest indigenous tribes of the archipelago, they are the forest's mirror, shaped by its rhythms, devoted to its spirits. For generations beyond count, their lives have been tied to the soul of the land. Their bodies, marked with ink, are not merely decorated. They are mapped with the sacred. Among the Mentawai, the body is not flesh alone. It is a vessel that houses Kere, the soul force that binds one to nature, animals, and ancestors. To leave the body unadorned is to leave it vulnerable, incomplete. So from childhood, tattoos are etched into the skin with sharpened sticks and natural pigments. Lines stretch across shoulders, down arms, curling at ankles, not randomly, but with meaning. Each shape speaks. Each pattern protects. A man's first tattoos come after his first hunt. A woman's after her skills in the home are proven. This is not vanity. It is survival, spiritual and social. And then there is the sharpening of teeth, a ritual of beauty and identity. With a small chisel and hammer of wood, women file their teeth to sharp, pointed tips. The pain is not resisted. It is welcomed. For the Mentawai, sharpened teeth are beautiful, and beauty is harmony. To possess it is to honor the spirits that dwell in every tree, rock, and stream. These traditions once guided the steps of every life, from birth through the final rites whispered beneath banana leaves. But with the arrival of outside forces, missionaries, colonial hands, and government decrees, the old ways were pressed into silence. Ceremonies were forbidden. Tattoos were labeled primitive, and the forest, once vast and unchallenged, began to shrink. Generations were raised in the tension between memory and mandate, with elders watching their stories fade into the vines. Yet some still carry the ink. Some still walk barefoot with sharpened teeth, clothed in loincloths of bark fiber, adorned in flowers and boar tusks. Deep within the island, shamans still chant to the forest, guiding spirits between worlds. In these remote villages, time does not flow like a river. It circles like a storm, returning again and again to the beginning. The Mentawai do not live in the past. They carry it, etched in skin, carved in bone, whispered in ritual. In a world racing forward, they remain one of the last voices speaking the language of trees. Surma. In the farthest reaches of Ethiopia's Omo Valley, where the grasslands stretch endlessly beneath storm-torn skies and the rivers carve silence into the earth, live the Surma, known also as the Suri. Their world is vast, untouched, and wild. Time here does not move forward. It turns in circles. The people do not walk through life alone. They walk with their ancestors, their cattle, their customs. For centuries, the Surma have remained hidden from the world, holding on to traditions that are not remnants of the past, but living truths. They wear the earth, not to cover themselves, but to speak. To the Surma, the body is a canvas, a declaration, a battlefield of pride and identity. Each day, women gather river clay and natural pigments, creating elaborate patterns across their skin, stripes, swirls, and spots, drawn with fingertips and vines. These are not fixed symbols. They shift with mood, season, and spirit. Painted in white and ochre, red and ash, the Surma walk like spirits of the earth itself, draped in creation. But the most striking tradition lies not on the skin, but within the mouth. Among women, the lower lip is pierced in adolescence and gradually stretched to hold a clay plate. Over time, the disc can grow to immense sizes, transforming the face into a symbol of strength and feminine beauty. It is not for vanity. It is not for pain. It is a right. It speaks of readiness, of endurance, of status. The plate, like the tattoo or the scar, tells a story without sound. Men too bear their marks, with ceremonial scars etched across their torsos. Each mark represents a victory, a hunt, a challenge met. In a world obsessed with uniformity, the Surma offer another path, a way of being where beauty is not softened, but sharpened, where silence is filled with meaning, where tradition is worn boldly, without apology. Through paint, plate, and scar, the Surma walk the savannah as living monuments, not of a culture fading away, but of one too strong to be erased. Their customs may not ask for understanding. They ask only to be seen. Chukchi. At the edge of the world, where the land fractures into frozen sea and the wind howls across a white and endless horizon, live the Chukchi. For thousands of years, they have endured in the desolate vastness of Siberia's Chukotka Peninsula, a place where reindeer move like shadows and the polar night can last for weeks. This is not a land for the faint-hearted. The cold shapes everything: thought, movement, memory. Yet here, wrapped in reindeer hides and guided by the stars, the Chukchi people carved a life not in spite of the ice, but because of it. The Chukchi trace their lineage through the tundra, through oral tales passed down beside burning seal oil lamps, through migration paths remembered by bone and blood. They divide into two ancient ways of life: the maritime Chukchi, who dwell along the coasts, and the reindeer Chukchi, who roam the inner frostlands. Both are guardians of a culture sculpted by extremes. For them, the cold is not an obstacle. It is the breath of the ancestors. Clothing is not chosen, but inherited from tradition. Sewn from reindeer hide, lined with fur, stitched in patterns that echo the land. Hooded parkas, thick boots, and bone ornaments are not decorative. They are the armor of survival. Faces, weathered by generations of wind, often bear high cheekbones and narrow eyes shaped to protect against the blinding snow. These are not mere traits. They are evolutions. Proof that the body, like the spirit, can adapt to the unyielding. Spiritual life runs through every breath. The Chukchi speak of the Angak, shamans who journey between worlds, guides who call upon animal spirits, wind gods, and the forces of the sky. Rituals are carved into the year, offerings made to sea creatures after the hunt, reindeer skulls placed carefully atop sacred cairns, dances performed beneath the flicker of northern lights. Every act, every gesture, is a dialogue with the invisible. But the world around them has not always listened. The Soviet era forced collectivization, sought to erase language, ritual, and belief. Reindeer herds were taken. Shamans were silenced. And still, under the cover of snow and silence, some traditions were hidden, carried like embers beneath ash. Now, in the heart of the tundra, a quiet resurgence begins. Elders still sing the old songs. Hunters still read the tracks in the snow. The Chukchi have never needed monuments. Their monument is survival. Their identity is not carved in stone, but stitched in fur, chanted in ceremony, and carried in the breath that fogs in frozen air. In the harshest place on earth, they remain, unbroken, unchanged, and unforgettable. Maasai. Across the golden plains of East Africa, where the savanna rolls into the shadow of Mount Kilimanjaro and the wind carries the scent of dust and acacia, live the Maasai. Their presence is unmistakable. Tall figures draped in crimson shuka, walking among cattle beneath a sky wide as history. For centuries, the Maasai have moved with the rhythm of the land, a pastoral people whose traditions stand as boldly as the spears they carry. They do not bend to time. They shape it, walking through the landscape as if they were born from the soil itself. Cattle are not just livelihood for the Maasai. They are breath, blood, wealth, and prayer. Every boy is raised to tend them. Every elder carries stories that begin and end with their hooves. A man's worth isn't measured by gold, but by the size of his herd. In their worldview, the sky god Enkai gifted all cattle to the Maasai, making them caretakers of a divine inheritance. The Maasai body is a declaration of culture. From youth, ears are pierced and stretched wide, adorned with heavy beadwork that reflects light like fireflies in the dusk. Necklaces, bracelets, and headpieces are crafted from vibrant beads, each color bearing a message: red for bravery, blue for the sky, white for purity, green for land. These are not ornaments. They are language spoken without words. Perhaps the most striking rite is the coming-of-age ceremony for young men. Before becoming warriors or moran, boys endure ritual circumcision without anesthesia. It is a test not only of pain, but of silence. To flinch is to fail. To emerge unshaken is to be reborn. From there, the journey begins. Years spent away from the village, living in warrior bands, learning to protect the community, the cattle, the culture. Women, too, carry the legacy, bearers of song, of structure, of spirit. Their attire gleams with beadwork arranged in perfect geometry. Their role in ceremonies is central, their presence in every feast, sacred. Yet the world presses close. Land boundaries tighten. Climate shifts. Laws restrict the ancient migration paths once traveled freely. But the Maasai have never relied on permanence. They are a people of movement, of adaptation, and their traditions flow even when the rivers dry. In the modern map of East Africa, the Maasai remain as a living landmark. They are not preserved in museums. They walk beside zebras and lions, past termite mounds and through thorn brush, carrying spears and stories. The red cloth still ripples in the wind. The beads still sing in the sunlight. The Maasai are not a memory. They are a flame, tall, bright, and burning still beneath the vast African sky. Kazak eagle hunters. In the far reaches of western Mongolia, where the Altai Mountains carve the sky and the wind tastes of stone and snow, a nomadic people ride through the silence. The Kazak eagle hunters are figures of legend, moving across icy plateaus on horseback, cloaked in fur, their arms outstretched to the heavens. Upon those arms rest golden eagles. This bond between man and bird is no performance. It is a heritage forged across centuries, born from survival in one of the Earth's most unforgiving frontiers. The hunter does not command the eagle. He earns her trust. The tradition begins in early youth. A boy is chosen. His training will span years under the watch of his father or grandfather, guided not only by skill but by silence. An eaglet is taken from the nest, raised by hand, fed from the hunter's own fingers, spoken to in whispers. The bond is not bred through dominance, but through devotion. For a decade or more, the eagle becomes part of the hunter's very being, perched beside him as he rides, responds to his voice, and strikes at his call. Clad in coats of fox, wolf, or marmot, their faces weathered by frost and sun, the hunters are shaped by the land. Their high cheekbones and narrow eyes reflect the long winters, and their strength lies not in size, but in endurance. Their clothing is sewn with tradition: thick leather boots, carved belts, and headwear crowned with fur. Everything they wear carries function and meaning, shaped by both necessity and pride. Each winter, when snow settles over the Altai, the hunt begins. Mounted on sturdy Mongolian horses, the hunters scan the ridges for foxes or hares. With a sudden cry, the eagle is released, a blur of bronze feathers diving through air. The catch is swift, merciless, and precise. When she returns, it is to the same arm that raised her. The eagle is never kept forever. After years of hunting together, she is released into the wild, a farewell rich in both sorrow and respect. The hunter sings to her, thanks her, sets her free. This moment is sacred. In letting go, the tradition is renewed. In a modern world that rushes forward, the Kazak eagle hunters remain tethered to the wind. Their lives are not measured in possessions, but in partnerships, with mountains, with horses, with birds of prey. Each rider who raises an eagle carries more than skill. He carries the echo of ancestors, the silence of snowfields, and the legacy of an unbroken bond. In the highlands where no road dares go, the eagle and the hunter still ride, two spirits in flight, shaped by the sky. Toraja. In the mist-draped highlands of Sulawesi, where the jungle breathes and the mountains cradle villages like secrets, live the Toraja. Their homeland is a land of spirits and stone, where buffalo paths weave between rice terraces and wood carvings speak louder than words. Among the Toraja, death is not an ending. It is a beginning, a sacred journey that shapes the living just as much as the departed. Here, tradition is not found in monuments. It is carved into homes, sung in chants, and buried beneath layers of earth and time. The most iconic vision of Toraja life stands high and proud. The Tongkonan, ancestral houses with sweeping roofs that curve like boats toward the sky. Built on stilts, adorned with geometric carvings, and painted in blood red, black, and gold, these structures are more than shelter. They are the living heart of each family line. The dead are never truly gone, for their spirits linger in these wooden bones, honored through ritual and ceremony. But it is the Toraja rituals surrounding death that define them, elaborate funerals that can last for days, weeks, or even years in the making. A funeral is not just a farewell, it is a rite of passage, a sacred obligation. Until the proper ceremony is performed, the deceased is not considered gone, but simply sick, resting in the family home, dressed, fed, and spoken to daily. Only after the sacrifice of buffalo, pigs, and the gathering of kin can the spirit begin its journey to Puya, the land of souls. These ceremonies are marked by haunting music, processions through stone tombs, and the rhythmic beat of chants passed down through generations. Burial sites are carved into cliffs, sealed with wooden effigies called tau-tau, lifelike statues that watch silently over the valleys below. They are guardians, reflections, ancestors rendered in timber and reverence. Even years after burial, families may exhume and redress the dead in a ritual known as manin. The bones are cleaned, new garments are offered, and old ties are strengthened. To the Toraja, this is not macabre. It is love made visible. Respect does not fade with time. It is renewed. In a world that fears death, the Toraja embrace it, not with sorrow, but with ceremony. They believe that life is a single thread stretched across two worlds, and the dead do not leave. They remain in memory, in wood, in stone, in the whispered prayers beneath the peaks of Sulawesi. Among the Toraja, every breath is part of a legacy, every burial a celebration, and every silence filled with the echo of ancestral voices. They have not lost their way. They walk with the past, always. Sami. Above the Arctic Circle, where twilight stretches for months and snowdrifts swallow the earth, live the Sami, the indigenous people of Europe's far north. Across the tundras and pine forests of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia's Kola Peninsula, they have followed the pulse of the land since the Ice Age first receded. Here, beneath the shimmering veils of the northern lights, time moves with the herds. For the Sami, identity is not bound to borders or states. It is written in snow, sung in wind, and sewn into reindeer hide. They do not follow paths, they follow seasons. The reindeer has always been central, not only to Sami survival, but to their soul. They follow the great migrations, guiding herds through forests and across frozen lakes, using ancestral knowledge passed not through books, but through memory. A Sami herder does not rely on maps. He listens to the wind, reads the sky, and feels the rhythm of hooves beneath the earth. Clothing reflects both climate and culture. Traditional Sami dress, called gakti, is tailored for Arctic conditions and spiritual meaning. Made from wool, leather, and reindeer fur, each garment tells of geography, family, and clan. The colors, deep blue, crimson red, golden yellow, are arranged in patterns that speak louder than any words. Boots of reindeer skin, stitched with sinew, curl at the toes for navigating deep snow. Belts are adorned with metal, bone, or silver, not merely for beauty, but for balance, status, and protection. The Sami voice is strongest in their joik, a form of ancestral song that does not describe, but evokes. A joik is not sung about a reindeer, or a river, or a person. It becomes them. It is sound shaped by emotion, echoing across generations. With no instruments, no written notes, it carries the wisdom of landscapes long untouched by modern hands. Their ancient religion, rooted in animism, believes the world is alive with spirits. Every stone, every mountain, every tree has its radian, its soul. Sacred drums were once used by Sami shamans to enter trance, speak to animals, and navigate the unseen. The Sami endure, herding across vast wildernesses, singing the old songs, preserving language and land. Their traditions are not relics. They are rivers that continue to flow beneath frozen earth. In their dress, in their rhythm, in their voice, the Sami carry an inheritance older than borders, older than nation, older than even the snow that blankets their home. They are the memory of the North, resilient, proud, and quietly unbreakable. Dogon. Beyond the red dust and thorny scrub of Mali's central plateau rises a jagged sandstone escarpment known as the Bandiagara Cliffs. Towering and ancient, it is a wall between worlds, sky and earth, spirit and body. Nestled in its shadows and etched into its face are the stone villages of the Dogon people. Here, high above the dry Sahel, the Dogon carved a civilization of myth, mathematics, and mystery. One not written in ink, but in ritual. Every rock and path is sacred, every gesture inherited. This is a culture that sees the stars not only with eyes, but with memory. The Dogon arrived in these cliffs centuries ago, seeking refuge from conquest and conversion. Their ancestors scaled the heights with grain, tools, and gods, choosing the cliffs not for defense alone, but for vision. From here, they watched the sky. From here, they listened to the earth. Over time, they built a complex cosmology tied to celestial bodies, stars invisible to the naked eye, cycles that predate the telescope. They speak of Sirius and its unseen companion, of orbits and timing with eerie accuracy. Their knowledge is not drawn from books. It is spoken, carved, and danced. Their villages are arranged with sacred intent. Granaries with pointed thatched roofs stand like guardians, while the Tuguna, a low-roofed men's shelter, forces calm discussion by design. Each building mirrors a part of the human body or the universe itself. Houses cling to cliff faces like nests, built from mud, stone, and spirit. Life here is vertical. Stairs of stone, ladders of wood, shrines hidden in rock crevices. The body is also shaped by tradition. Elders wear long cotton robes dyed in indigo, and masks, often towering, geometric, and elaborate, are carved with sharp symbolism. These are not decorations. They are identities worn in ceremony. Among the most sacred of these is the Dhamma, a ritual that sends the dead into the world of ancestors. Men in towering masks leap through villages in dust and rhythm, reenacting the first death, the first departure, the first return. Their masks speak to creation, to death, to breath. Carved with precision, danced with power, they are keys to the invisible. The Dogon have resisted more than drought and time. They have resisted disappearance. While the world races forward, they walk in a slower rhythm, one set by ancestors and stars. Their myths are not superstition, but structured systems of order, belief, and memory. In the shadow of the Bandiagara cliffs, the Dogon remain, watchers of the sky, sculptors of meaning, guardians of one of humanity's oldest conversations with the cosmos. Here, culture is not preserved. It is lived, in silence, in dust, in sacred echo. Berber. In the windswept reaches of the Atlas Mountains and across the sun-baked dunes of the Sahara, the Amazigh people, known widely as the Berbers, have walked these lands since long before the rise of empires. From the snowy peaks of the high Atlas to the vast silence of Morocco's deserts, their presence endures like the landscape itself, carved by time, shaped by survival, guided by the old ways. The name Amazigh means free people, and even today, every woven thread, every tattooed line, and every whispered prayer speaks to a freedom that was never given, only claimed. Long before foreign tongues arrived, the Amazigh language, Tamazight, echoed in stone valleys and earthen villages. It survives in symbols inscribed on jewelry, doors, and foreheads. Women once bore sacred tattoos across their faces, between the brows, along the jaw, across the chin. These marks were more than beauty. They were maps of identity, shields of protection, prayers worn in skin. Though fewer carry them today, they remain a sign of strength drawn directly from the soil. Their clothing, like their identity, is distinct and rooted. Robes dyed in deep indigo or crimson, cloaks fastened with silver fibulae, and headscarves wrapped with grace. Each garment speaks of region, clan, and memory. Adornments of silver and coral, often handed down for generations, are heavy with both beauty and meaning. Patterns woven into rugs and fabrics do not merely decorate. They recount family, fertility, and stars. Among the Amazighs, women hold the memory of the land. Their songs carry the weight of harvest and hardship. Their hands shape bread from clay ovens, weave textiles that mirror the mountains, and pass on rituals tied to birth, marriage, and mourning. They dance during celebrations with hands lifted skyward, ululating into the night, honoring ancestors who once roamed as nomads beneath the desert moon. Their past is marked by resistance, not with armies, but with preservation. For centuries, the Amazigh navigated waves of conquest and assimilation. From Roman roads to Arab dynasties to colonial lines drawn across their hills, their culture was often pushed aside, their language once forbidden in schools and governance. But they did not vanish. They adapted. And still, they spoke their truth in private, through embroidery, rhythm, and ritual. Today, across Morocco's high valleys and desert edges, the Amazigh spirit remains woven into the land itself. Their traditions are not displays, they are inheritances. In the piercing eyes of elders wrapped in wool, in the tattooed hands that knead bread in earthen ovens, in the songs that rise like desert wind. The Amazigh continue to endure, not as relics of the past, but as flamekeepers of an ancient fire. Free people, earthborn, unforgotten. Huli wigmen. In the emerald highlands of Papua New Guinea, where the forests breathe mist and the mountains stand like ancestors, live the Huli. Known across the island as the Huli wigmen, they are one of the most visually striking peoples on Earth. Their land is a patchwork of ridges and valleys, wrapped in clouds and cut by rivers that shimmer like veins beneath the jungle canopy. Here, in the shadow of rain and stone, the Huli have held their ground for over 1,000 years. Warriors, farmers, spirit speakers, a people whose bodies, like their land, are shaped by ritual and color. The Huli are not a people of stillness. They are bold, loud, and alive with movement. Central to their identity is the hair, not just worn, but transformed. Young men enter wig schools, where they live in isolation for months, even years. They grow their hair with care, feeding it with water and ash, shaping it into curved domes that mirror the birds of paradise. When the time comes, the hair is cut not as a loss, but as a beginning. The strands are woven into ceremonial wigs, adorned with feathers, moss, shells, and ochre, each one a crown of masculinity, power, and pride. These wigs are worn in battle dances, festivals, and rites of passage. They are not costumes. They are declarations, living sculptures of identity that rise from the scalp to meet the sky. Alongside them, the men paint their faces with vivid yellow clay from sacred riverbanks, ringed with blood-red accents and streaks of black charcoal. Each design speaks of tribe, spirit, and status. The result is a face that does not hide. It commands. The body is further marked with cassowary bones, boar tusks, and plant fiber. Armbands, chest ornaments, and grass skirts are worn not for decoration, but to reflect harmony with the natural world. Their traditions, passed through generations in chant and firelight, are steeped in ancestral law. Spirits known as Dhamma reside in trees, stones, and streams. A wrong step can awaken them. Every ritual, every paint stroke must be performed with precision and respect. But the world beyond the jungle edge has grown closer. Airstrips, roads, and strangers have arrived, and with them, a pull toward change. Yet deep in the highlands, some Huli still climb to the ridges, still dance in feathers, still whisper the old names. To be Huli is not to dress in tradition. It is to live inside it. The wigs, the colors, the chants, they are threads in a larger design stitched across time. The Huli wigmen are more than a people. They are a vision brought to life, bright, fierce, and proud. In the green lungs of Papua New Guinea, their legacy stands tall, feathered, and unbowed. Nenets. Across the wind-swept tundras of northern Russia, where the horizon stretches into snow and sky with no line between them, live the Nenets. Nomads of the Yamal Peninsula, they walk a path carved by reindeer hooves and winter storms, a path older than cities, older than written history. The word Yamal means end of the world, yet for the Nenets, it is the center of all things. Here, beneath the auroras and across frozen rivers, they follow the ancient migration, moving not by compass, but by memory and instinct. They are a people of motion, and in their motion, tradition survives. The reindeer is not simply a companion to the Nenets. It is their spine, their shelter, their breath. Herds numbering in the thousands move with the seasons, stretching across hundreds of kilometers from summer pastures to winter grounds. The Nenets follow, driving wooden sleds across snow and ice, wrapped in fur garments that have never known a machine. Coats of reindeer hide, militsa for men, yagushka for women, are sewn with sinew and tailored with ancestral precision. Each layer traps warmth in a place where temperatures plunge so low that eyelashes freeze in minutes. Their facial features reflect centuries shaped by frost. Broad cheekbones, narrow eyes, skin kissed by wind and light. Children grow up in conical tents called chum, covered in reindeer skins and supported by wooden poles. Inside, the space is sacred, not for
region's floating heritage. Festivals bring the water to life. During Nehru Trophy Boat Race, long snake boats powered by dozens of rowers surge through narrow canals, cheered by voices from palm-lined banks. The water becomes not only a passage, but a stage. In Aleppi, the backwaters are more than landscape. They are memory, economy, and identity. The people do not merely live beside them, they are shaped by them, guided by their tides, and rooted in a world where the river is the path, the harvest, and the home.
With bone, were not symbols of religion, but instruments of survival. Though many of these practices were silenced during Soviet times, the memory of them still drifts across the tundra like smoke. Industrial encroachment threatens what winter could not. Pipelines cut across migration paths. Oil fields rise where caribou once ran. And yet, the Nenets endure, adjusting routes, holding fast to rhythms that machines cannot decode. To watch the Nenets cross the tundra is to witness a culture in motion, not in retreat, but in resistance. Their strength is not loud. It is quiet, patient, like snowfall. Each reindeer herder who disappears into the white carries a piece of human history too old to be rewritten. In the heart of Russia's Arctic wilderness, the Nenets continue to move, across ice, across time, with fur-lined steps and ancestral breath, untouched by stillness. Tarahumara, high in the Sierra Madre Mountains of northern Mexico, where canyons fall like thunder and pine forests ripple across the ridges, live the Tarahumara, or as they call themselves, the Raramuri. Their name means runners on foot, and it tells only part of their story. For centuries, they have moved like shadows through the Copper Canyon, one of the deepest gorges in the Americas. Here, isolation has shaped endurance, and silence has shaped wisdom. They are a people carved by cliffs and spirit, a legacy carried not in monuments, but in motion. To understand the Raramuri is to understand distance. Running is not a sport. It is a sacred thread that ties them to land, to ritual, and to survival. In bare feet or handmade sandals called huaraches, they glide across rocky terrain for hours, even days. Not as a challenge, but as a form of ceremony. Their endurance is legendary. Bodies lean, feet hardened, lungs deep with mountain air. In traditional contests called Rara Jipari, a wooden ball is kicked across the landscape while runners chase it through valleys, forests, and dust. The race does not end at a finish line. It ends when spirit and body reach their rhythm. Their facial features carry the highland sun. High cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes, sun-bronzed skin. Clothing blends function with heritage. Women in brightly patterned skirts that flutter like birds in wind. Men in simple tunics, their heads often wrapped in cloth. Each garment is handmade, each color chosen with care. These are not costumes, but continuations of a people whose identity is stitched into every thread. The Raramuri live in scattered homesteads along canyon slopes and forested plateaus, building homes of stone, wood, or caves carved into the rock itself. Life is quiet, but rich with tradition. Music flows from handmade violins and drums. Dances spiral through nights lit by fire. Festivals blend Catholic imagery with ancient rites, and in each celebration, the sacred and the ancestral walk side by side. Their belief system holds the land as sacred. God and nature are not separate. They live together in the wind, in the corn, in the stars above the canyon rim. Rituals honor both life and the harvest, and offerings are made with respect, not obligation. Yet the world beyond the canyon edges creeps closer. Roads, tourism, industry. Still, the Raramuri run, not away, but forward. Each footstep a declaration that tradition is not a thing of the past. It is breath and it is movement. The Raramuri are not fast because they train. They are fast because the land taught them to be. In every trail they cross, every canyon they descend, they carry more than speed. They carry memory. Their endurance is not just physical, but cultural. A people in motion, unyielding, unforgotten. In the silence of the Copper Canyon, they do not stand still. They run, with purpose, with pride, and with the strength of ancestors at their side. Mursi. In the remote valleys of southwestern Ethiopia, where dry earth meets the Omo River and the sky burns low with sun, dwell the Mursi, one of the last truly traditional tribes of Africa. Their land is vast and untamed, bordered by mountains and savanna, where time bends to ancient rhythms. Here, in this scorched cradle of humanity, the Mursi live with an unbroken connection to their ancestors, holding fast to a way of life that has endured long after kingdoms have fallen. They are not a people hidden by history. They are defined by it. Among the Mursi, culture is worn on the body, expressed through scarification, ornaments, body paint, and most striking of all, the lip plate. For Mursi women, the lower lip is pierced in adolescence and slowly stretched over time to accommodate a large clay disc. It is not an act of vanity, nor a mark of submission. It is a rite, a gateway into adulthood, a symbol of strength, endurance, and cultural pride. The plate, often elaborately decorated, speaks without words, of identity, beauty, and belonging. The men, equally adorned, carry the marks of warrior heritage, scar patterns etched into the skin mark achievements in life, in combat, in growth. Painted with ash and earth, their bodies become canvases during ceremonies, white lines streaking across dark skin, echoing the bark of trees and the curves of rivers. Their physical appearance is not decoration, it is memory, inscribed in flesh. The Mursi are agro-pastoralists, herding cattle and growing crops along the fertile floodplains of the Omo. Cattle are central to life, their value not only in milk and meat, but in dowry, ritual, and status. A man is measured by the size of his herd. A family's wealth is whispered in the lowing of oxen. Their belief system is animist at heart, a world filled with unseen forces, with spirits that inhabit animals, rivers, and sky. Elder councils guide spiritual practice, and every gesture in daily life holds meaning. Death is not feared, but honored. Ancestral spirits are felt in the wind, in firelight, in silence. To witness the Mursi is to see a people unshaken by the erosion of time. In the curve of a lip plate, in the rhythm of a dance, in the echo of a cattle bell at dusk, a deeper story is told. One not of spectacle, but of resilience. Despite pressures from modernization, displacement, and misunderstanding, the Mursi continue to stand firm, clay in hand, gaze unwavering. Yao. In the mist-shrouded mountains of southern China, where rice terraces carve emerald rings into the hillsides, lies a village where time slows and legends grow long with hair. This is Huangluo, home to the Red Yao, a people whose beauty flows not only through their land, but through strands that stretch nearly the length of their lives. Here, women are known not by wealth or title, but by the richness of their hair. Black, gleaming, uncut, It is not merely ornament. It is inheritance. It is pride. It is living tradition. For the Red Yao women, hair is sacred. Each strand is nurtured with rice water, the cloudy rinse left after washing glutinous rice, a practice passed from mother to daughter across generations. Their hair grows well past their waists, often over 6 feet in length, yet it is never wild or disorderly. It is wrapped, coiled, and displayed with elegance and purpose. The hairstyle itself tells a story. A woman whose hair is coiled into a high bun with no extra loops is unmarried. A second loop means she is married. A third, larger loop woven from a previous cut of her own hair, gifted during youth, marks her as a mother. Even the hair that is shed or trimmed is never thrown away. It is kept, cherished, and later woven back into daily styles. Nothing of the self is lost. Their garments are as vivid as the mountain rain. Robes dyed deep crimson, the color of joy and strength, are embroidered with floral patterns and silver ornaments. Each piece of clothing is handmade, requiring months of labor and mastery. It is said a Red Yao woman weaves her own fate with thread, needle, and time. The Yao are one of China's officially recognized ethnic minorities, descendants of ancient tribes that once roamed the southern plains. Over centuries, they settled in quiet pockets of Guangxi province, living in wooden stilt houses that cling to the slopes above fields of glistening rice. Their language, songs, and rituals survived invasions, dynasties, and decades of change, sheltered by isolation and mountain mist. Community life remains rooted in harmony with the land. Festivals mark the harvest and New Year, with women dancing in red, their long black hair swinging like silk banners in the wind. Songs echo through valleys, soft, high-pitched, and poetic, blending tales of courtship, nature, and ancestors. In a world obsessed with cutting ties and moving fast, the Red Yao stand still, not in silence, but in calm defiance. Their hair flows like the rivers below, unbroken and unashamed. It is a testament not to vanity, but to patience, to resilience, to a belief that beauty is not something found, but something grown with care, woven with memory, and worn with pride. Among the terraces of southern China, the Yao women walk like myths, real, radiant, and timeless.